And this is your latest Manchester United news at the start of another big week for Manchester United. Where does Ruben Amorim sit? Well, he sits in the box of power. He sits in the managerial position and he sits with the support of the club. But there's been some very big statements coming out overnight from ex-Manchester United players. We've also got the latest news on where Ineos are with regards to Manchester United. And I've got a couple of interesting takes I want to give to you. But look, let me read you this straight away. What's going on at Manchester United? This is not Manchester United. I don't recognise the whole football club. I don't see players fighting. I don't see character. I don't see desire to win. I don't see ability. I don't see match winners. Nothing gets me off my feet. The words of you, me and everybody else, but also the words of Wayne Rooney. So look, I think that the title is gone. Amorim has no way back. I do not see a way back because we've been down this road so many times and it's very, very sad. But how do you get a way back? I've said this so many times. We have said this so many times. In football, I think people do try to cling on to the obscure. They try to cling on to hope. But when the going gets bad, it very, very rarely turns around. And I think the problem that we've got is, and you know what, I was doing a show with Robbie this morning on DR Sports, and he said, if you beat Sunderland on Saturday, everything's all right again. And I went, I think you completely and utterly misunderstand the temperature of the Man United fan base after Saturday. I think last season got sort of swept under the carpet because it was like, well, not by everybody, not by all of you. Let's be very, very clear on that. Not everybody swept last season under the carpet. Some people were like, it's unacceptable. We're not going to sweep it under the carpet, etc., etc. But some of us just went, he wasn't backed. He was thrown into a difficult situation. We lost some silly games, but, he's had a pre-season. He's had a bit of, time with the team now. Now is the time to deliver. And then you lose to Brentford. And then you go, you know what, that ain't good enough. So I think when people say, Sunderland will be, if we beat Sunderland, everything will be okay. I do not think, and I can speak for myself, I don't think beating Sunderland means, let's give it another 6 months. I think beating Sunderland in a way would just be even more irritating that we can't beat Brentford, that we can't turn up in a Manchester derby, that we make mistakes in the Arsenal game and the Fulham game. I think if we beat Sunderland, people will go, well, here we go again. These absolute flip-flops, light switch players should be sponsored by bloody B&Q because you never know what light switch they're going to turn on and off. And I think that beating Sunderland may be enough for some people to go, it's okay. But we all know there's another Brentford coming. And that's, I think, what Wayne Rooney's talking about. That's what I'm talking about. I think it's what most of you are talking about. And he made a great point about Ineos as well. What is it Manchester United are trying to sell here? I mean, look, Gary Neville said this. Amorim has had a pre-season. He's had a week now in between each of his games because Man United aren't in Europe, yet the performance is as poor as ever. The results are catastrophic in Manchester United terms. The money that's been spent has been big, and there are some things that I'm seeing that are a massive worry and some things that can't happen. Now, look, I could sit here this morning and defend Amorim and say, oh, well, you know what, Gary, £200 million. OK, it's a lot of money, but where's the midfielder? I could say that. Some of you might be saying that. Some of you might be saying, yeah, he's had £200 million, but he needed £500 million. Yeah, he's had 3 players and they're good, but he needed 6. They're valid points. They are really valid points. But you know what you'd do if you didn't get your midfielder? You wouldn't put Bruno Fernandes in the midfield. You'd play Casemiro and Agate and you'd try and create a shield. You wouldn't put Binder in goal either. So those sort of things, I think, are the things that are causing him problems at the moment. But yeah, I think this morning, the pile on, if you want to call it that, I was listening to what Wayne Rooney said, actually. You know what he said? And I'm, always going to be transparent with ex-players. I think sometimes if they come out with an opinion that suits us, we will big it up. And sometimes if they come out with a bad opinion that we don't like, we will call it out because their opinion is just the same as anybody else's. But what he actually said was, Wayne Rooney, he said, look, I've been thinking about it all day as to whether I want to say what I'm about to say, because the media will pick it up, pressure on the manager, pressure on the players. But I have to say it about a club that I played for 13 years and I really care about. They're not Man United players. They're not putting it in. There's no fight. There's no ability. There's no desire. And then he followed it up with this statement around the owners basically saying that I think there needs to be a clear message from the owners, whether that's the Glazers or Sir Jim Radcliffe. There has to be a message of where this club is going at the moment, because we're all sitting here waiting for it to crumble. And I think, what I am seeing is a lot of people are actually, yeah, let's talk about the manager. Let's talk about the manager. But there's a lot of people saying this goes beyond the manager. I mean, I have something I want to say in a few minutes' time about where I would go if I was going to bring a manager back. I know exactly where I would go, and it would probably be very niche, but we have no message from what we're actually doing as a football club. We've got a very vague clown circus stadium design, and we've got a very vague talk about Project 28, which is now Project 90, which is maybe Project something else, 69. I don't know what it is. Someone's going down, and it says it's just convoluted crap. It's nonsensical what we're meant to be. And I am in no way, shape or form making excuses for Ruben Amorim. But if I'm managing a football club that's chaotic, what is going to be chaotic? If we have an ownership that's unaccountable, you're going to end up with players that are unaccountable. And I'm not saying that if you had Roy Keane as your captain, he'd be playing like Bruno Fernandes because the ownership's shit. But from top to bottom, the club is an absolute mess. And it helps when people like Gary Neville, Wayne Rooney, Roy Keane start talking about it. They shouldn't be scared about what the players are going to think, because I don't remember. And this is what makes me laugh about these stories. Christian Eriksen was talking last week about the pressure at Manchester United. Oh, the pressure's too much. The ex-players put too much pressure on the players. What a load of bollocks. You know why it's a load of bollocks? Because you don't have to wait even 24 hours for it to be proven to be bollocks. So it's the ex-players' fault that the current players are so bad. They put too much pressure on us. Oh, this is why we can't play very well. We can't play a simple pass because we're thinking about what Roy Keane said. Oh, I've missed that chance because of Gary Neville. Oh, I didn't track that run because of Wayne Rooney telling me off last week. Okay, all right. I think you're talking absolute shit, but there we go. Explain to me what Wayne Rooney, Gary Neville, Roy Keane said negatively about you after the Chelsea game. So why didn't you turn up against Brentford? We're still thinking about the last time they had a go at us, which was probably after Man City. And it's like that. That's my point. All the excuses. Oh, it's too dark to train. Like, what was your excuse for Brentford? You beat Chelsea, one of the top 4 clubs in England, the Club World Cup champions. You beat Chelsea. You have a whole week to prepare for Brentford, and then you don't turn up. So who are you blaming for that? So I think it's open season. I think it's open season on the players. I don't like it when the ex-players say something. Well, maybe turn up in a Man United shirt, because there's no excuses for what we saw against Brentford. There was no outcry before it. There was no slagging off of players. There was no "you're a load of shit." It was literally, let's go and win 2 games in a row for the first time in 12 months. It was literally, let's go and win 3 games in a row and actually start to get this season going. And they don't turn up. I mean, you couldn't have had, I've not really heard many people talk about this, but you couldn't have had better circumstances going into the Brentford game. Whole week off, a team that's got a new manager, half its team have left. Lots of people think they're going to be in a relegation battle. We've had a whole week off. We've beat Chelsea. What a great opportunity. And they get absolutely stuffed like a Christmas turkey. It was an abysmal performance. So it should be open season on the Monday. Absolutely should be open season on the Monday. And I agree. I actually agree with Wayne Rooney, Gary Neville, and whatever Roy Keane's going to say this week. They're a shower of shit as players. And it shouldn't just be about the manager, because whether Amorim's making mistakes, and he clearly is, I think it's interesting that these ex-players are actually sort of saying, look, it can't go on with Amorim, but look at the players. I watch Man United play. I don't see Man United players. I don't see effort. I don't see desire. I don't see ability. And I think that's different from what we've seen in the past with certain managers. We've gone, oh, it's the manager's the problem. And clearly it's not. And I think it's absolutely inexcusable, especially when you watch other Premier League games, Sunderland at Forest, Wolves at Spurs, Arsenal at Newcastle, Crystal Palace against Liverpool. Other teams in this league without the resources, putting in a shift, well organised for 90 minutes. You're not always going to win, but they're putting a shift in. And it's inexcusable. the effort levels that these players put in, and it does need to be called out, absolutely. And I do agree with Rooney that there does need to be some leadership from above, because we're rudderless. I don't even know. I mean, we had that story last week from Ben Jacobs that Sir Jim Radcliffe thinks this team's good enough to get top 4. We're not good enough to get top 4 in the Championship, mate. What are you talking about? How low is your understanding of football that you think this is a top 4 team? Seriously. Like, you say you're a lifelong Man United fan. I don't think you're a week-long Man United fan. I don't think you're a football fan. How do you look at that team and say it's a Champions League team? It's not. It hasn't got a goalkeeper. Hasn't got a midfield. It's not a Champions League team. It's not a top 4 team. It isn't. It definitely shouldn't be in 14th place, but it's not a top 4 team. So what is it that you actually... It terrifies me that we might have an absolute moron in charge of the football club. That's more dangerous than anything. I'd rather have a realist that says this is a load of shit. It's going to take years to get back, but, you know, we'll do what we can. It's absolutely crazy to me that we don't actually know what our owners think about this situation. And look, going back to what I was saying there, because I want to stick to the show, and it's a morning show. It's a news show. I think the big takeaway for this morning, and I want to get some of your comments on this, is that, do you agree with what Robbie said to me this morning? So Robbie from AFTV, he said to me this morning, you beat Sunderland on Saturday and everything's okay again. And I went, no, I don't sense that. I don't sense that. And you can't poll it. It needs to be people giving their opinion. If we beat Sunderland on Saturday, is everything okay again? It buys time. It buys time, and people might start to go, oh, you know, stick with the manager. It might do that. But I know before Brentford, I was massively stick with the manager, Amorim in, etc., etc. But I know even when we beat Chelsea, a lot of people were still Amorim out. I know when we beat Burnley, a lot of people were still Amorim out. I don't think this fan base, there might be some, but I don't think this fan base is like results driven anymore. And what I mean by that is lose, Amorim out, win, Amorim in. This is Manchester United Football Club. Most of our fans are very, very capable of forming an opinion. It might be an annoying opinion. It might be a toxic opinion. It might be a toxic positivity opinion. But I really don't think beating Sunderland on Saturday, which is not a foregone conclusion anyway, I don't think if we beat Sunderland on Saturday, everyone will be going, that's it. I still expect the international break to be about when are Ineos going to make the change? Because unless he beats Sunderland 4-0 without Bruno in the midfield and Lemens in goal, and Luke Shaw's not playing left centre back, I mean, look, maybe I'm saying never. Like if Lemens is in goal and Heaven is left centre back with Yoro and De Ligt, and the midfield 2 is Agate and Mainu, maybe, and you win 3 or 4-0, then maybe people go, right, if he sticks with that vision, he's got a chance. But if we beat Sunderland, it's going to be with Bruno in the midfield, like, and that is not going to work. So I actually don't. I might be wrong on this, but I don't see beating Sunderland as a saviour. I really don't. I think it just buys him time. I think we're already into the long goodbye, which we've seen so many times. And people might say, oh, you're being so negative. That's fine. You've formed an opinion that's different to mine. Brilliant. And have I said Amorim out? No, I don't want to sack another manager because I'm stubbornly pig-headed and I do not want to sack another manager. I'm tired of sacking managers. I want to sack players. I want to change the ownership. So I will stubbornly say I do not want to sack another manager, even though I accept he's doing bloody awful. But we have been through this collectively so many times over the years. We are definitely in the long goodbye. We saw it with Ten Hag, we saw it with Ollie, we saw it with Jose, we saw it with Van Gaal. You know, there's a result that is the result before the result. I think West Ham with Mourinho, West Ham away with Mourinho was the result where I went, that's going to be it. He didn't get sacked then, but I went, that's the beginning of the end. With Ollie, I feel it was the Liverpool game. When he got smacked up at home, I felt that was the end. It wasn't the game he got sacked, but it was. Ten Hag was a little bit different because I think they sacked Ten Hag too quickly because they didn't like him anyway. But I feel that Brentford result is the result where basically there will be no way back. And I'd love to be wrong about it. At some point, somebody will come back from a position you don't think they can come back from. But somebody in the chat just said, why is there no way back? There's no way back because well, it's not about me. There's no way back because there's no trust in the players. They cannot do what needs to be done. They literally cannot play consistent football and win week in, week out. So they're always going to, absolutely guaranteed, any money, Man United are going to do another Brentford in the next 2 months, maybe in the next 2 weeks. But so we're definitely going to do another Brentford, which Amorim cannot afford. That's it. I could list off loads of things, but actually, based on fact, these players cannot go and win 5 games in a row. United Strand's crying. And they definitely will do another Brentford. And this manager can't afford another Brentford. So he's definitely, in my opinion, he's definitely going to lose his job. I think he knows he's going to lose his job as well because he's intelligent. That's it. There'll be loads of people giving you big lists on why he's going to lose his job. There will be another Brentford. He can't afford another Brentford, and he will get sacked unless we have an ownership that is seriously going to defy logic on stubbornness of we can't sack him because we look idiots. In which case, he could stay for a long time. But I just think simplistically, you've got to take emotion out of it. And that's why I'm saying, even if we beat Sunderland, it's not the way back because there'll be another Brentford round the corner. And I don't think Liverpool after the international break is the Brentford, by the way. I think if he loses to Liverpool, people will go, well, you'd expect that. And, you've got to factor in that there's a very high chance that we're going to have lost 4 games in our first 8 games because we've lost 3 in the first 6 and we've got Liverpool in game 8. So we'll have lost 50% of our games by game week 8, which is, it's not great. So that's my interpretation of it. I don't feel that a win against Sunderland brings everybody back behind the manager. I think he's lost. I was speaking to somebody on the weekend and they basically said something that many of you have said before. Why has Amorim lost the fan base when he speaks? So, this was a great conversation, actually. I'm going to divert for 1 minute here. I was having a conversation with somebody on Saturday and they said to me, because I went out after I didn't watch the 5:30 game or the 8 o'clock game. I did an 8 o'clock show, but I went out for a meal on Saturday night in the pub and I was talking when I was getting some drinks with somebody who was a United fan. And they were saying, they said quite a lot of things, but they said, why is it a guy that we all really like? He's like Ranić. He speaks so honestly. How is a guy that speaks so well and has retained so much support from the fan base, how has he lost that so quickly? And I said, because he's done things we don't agree with. Like he had the United fan base in his hands. Despite bad results, he speaks honestly. He speaks about the problems. He speaks about how long it's going to take. He speaks about his vision. He had the fan base in his hands. And then, unfortunately, on a huge decision, he made the decision he wanted to make. And that's fine, but it's a decision most of us do not like. And effectively, he's lost the fans because of team selections that the fans don't agree with. I mean, I mentioned last night about Gary Neville saying about Mason Mount at left back. That obviously irritates him. Some people are irritated by Binder in goal. Some people are irritated by Luke Shaw or Delo or playing Harry Maguire as the last guy. I'm irritated about him playing Bruno Fernandes in the midfield. So that's where Amorim's lost the fans. He actually had us all. Speaks really well. Speaks very honestly. I think he has had issues at the club, but where he's lost us is just on basically team selections that nobody can get behind. And I think if we'd had this start to the season, but he was playing Mainu and Agate in the midfield, people would go, he wanted a midfielder, he didn't get one. What else can he do? But he's made matters worse by his team selections, I feel. What were you going to say about the manager? Well, I've got some chats to read here. I'll say this then, because it's not really news. A lot of people over the weekend were saying, bring Ollie back. Some people were saying, bring Mourinho back. Some people were saying, bring Carrick back. It got me thinking, if I was going to bring one of our ex-managers back, I would bring Ralph Rangnick back. And this will be really, really not a lot of people will want it. Some people say it's controversial. I'd bring if I had to bring somebody back, I would bring Ralph Rangnick back. Mourinho, I think, is past it. Ollie, I never think was it. Carrick is massively untested. I would bring Ralph Rangnick back because he was the only guy that upset everybody. Bruno, Rashford, Sancho, Maguire, everybody. Ronaldo, he upset absolutely everybody because he wanted to clear the whole thing out. He was the only guy that didn't, Amorim said, Amorim's got rid of some players, but then he's kept other players. Amorim sort of halfway housed it. Rangnick was the only one that was going to clear the whole lot. And also his recruitment is incredible. I mean, I haven't looked at it for a while, but when he was at Man United, the players he mentioned who became brilliant, like, definitely Vardiel, definitely Alvarez, definitely Lema. There was about 7 players that hadn't moved yet, and he mentioned them all at to come to Manchester United. So his recruitment's really good, his style of football's really good, and he would clean house. So I don't want to bring anybody back, but if I was going to bring anybody back, and also he's worked with Faval, who I think is actually I actually think Faval is good. I'm not convinced about Wilcox. I'm not convinced about Barada, but I actually think Faval is good. I would, if I had to bring somebody back, it would be Rangnick. I think he was the only one who understood we needed to clear house. You bring Ollie back, he's just going to get him in a circle and give him a hug. Probably bring Rashi and Sancho back as well. But I don't want to bring anybody back. I'm just saying Rangnick was the one who I would bring back. Right, let me just grab some of your comments before we go into some other topics. The Ryder Cup is magic, says Shane. I'm not a big fan of golf, but I did watch the end of that. It was good fun. Thank you, Shane, for that, if you enjoyed it. Chin says, Ineos should go and get Simeone. If he can't sort this shit out, then nobody can. Enough of soft hands, bring in ruthless authority. I don't want shit football, though, Shin. I see a lot of people talking about Glasner, but Glasner plays with 30%. I think that if we're going for short-termism, get Simeone, get Glasner in. If we just want results, but stylistically, I don't think it works for me. Ayu says, let's say we sold all the players and we got all the Palace players under Amorim and we're playing against Liverpool in Old Trafford. Do you think we'll win? I think any manager, whether it be Ruben Amorim or the next manager, has a better chance if they have 11 players that play as a team and work hard and work together. I mean, why did Grimsby beat us? They're not better than us, but they worked hard and they worked together. So I think if you bring that sort of culture, mentality and, intensity, togetherness, then you're going to be a better team. I didn't agree with it at the time. And I think it was Roy Keane that said it. I mean, I didn't agree with the whole Bruno wanted to get subbed off at Anfield. That was unfair. He would never do that. I will always have Bruno's back in relation to him being a good player for the football club, and he always wants to play. So you can never say that he'd want to get subbed. That was unfair. But where I do agree with what's been said by, I think it was Roy Keane and a couple of others, is that he's not a Man United captain. He's not. He's probably the best captain we've got, but he's not a Man United captain. And I think, again, take it away from the manager, take it away from the player. Why have we got an ownership that can't see? I find myself saying this so many times, and you're probably the same. Why can't they see what we see? Because they're clearly not fans of the football club. To be a fan of Manchester United, you've got to understand what the club is. Same for Liverpool, same for other clubs. You can't just say I'm a Man United fan. To be a Man United fan, you've got to understand the intricacies of being a Man United fan. You've got to know everything about what happened in '58. You've got to know everything about why youth is really important to us. You've got to understand that we've always been risk takers. We've always played with wingers. You've got to understand that to be a Manchester United player, you're not necessarily a Chelsea player. There's something about being a Man United player. And that doesn't mean you're better than Chelsea. What it means is there's a different demand as a Man United player. It's the intensity, it's the scrutiny. There's something about being a Man United player that makes you go, that's a Man United player. So when someone like Roy Keane says Bruno Fernandes is not a Man United captain, there's probably nobody better qualified other than someone like Brian Robson to say what a Man United captain is on this planet. So, we probably should listen. The issue is he the best captain we've got? And that's what I've always said. Who is better than Bruno as the captain of Man United? I don't really think there's a case. But the bigger issue is why are we making do? Why have we not solved a problem that's been a problem for 3 years? Like, why is he still the captain of Manchester United if he's not a captain? And again, you look at it again, and this just the mentality of the club seems to be make do. Some football clubs do have normally it's Latin. It's a statement of what their club stands for. Villa have got one. Other clubs have got one. Man United's new statement of, what we're all about seems to be let's make do. Because everywhere we look at the goalkeeper now, look at the midfield now. If Sesko gets injured, look at the attack now. It's like, let's make do. And that's not how you win. That's not how you be the best at anything, by making do. And I think the captaincy is a very important thing when you're going back to that, what Ayew says about Crystal Palace and the togetherness. How can you be together when your leader separates and divides? And whatever you say about Bruno Fernandes, he's a good player for Portugal when he's not the captain. At Man United, I think he's a very divisive leader. Some people might love him as a captain. Some people are going to bloody hate him as a captain. Maybe Lenny Yoro responds to being thrown under the bus unfairly after a Manchester derby, or maybe he goes, it wasn't my fucking fault, it was his fault. Why am I getting the shit for it? So this is what I mean about leadership. Leadership needs to be all-inclusive. Leadership needs to be all-inspiring. We don't have that. And we saw it on the weekend. So if somebody wants to defend our leadership at Manchester United, then, you know, I don't see how you can, because we've just watched an abysmal performance. I mean, I was talking to Robbie this morning about the red card that Nathan Collins should have got. I mean, let me read you this actually, because we're diverting again, but it's a very, very good point. So basically, I read this morning on social media. Man United are 2 missed penalties away from being 2 points behind Arsenal. Small margins become catastrophic and fantastic. So basically what it's saying is, if Bruno Fernandes had scored his penalty against Fulham, we'd have 2 more points. And if we'd scored his penalty at the weekend, we'd have another point. I don't know whether that puts us 2 points behind Arsenal or not. It puts us on 10 points, doesn't it? So Arsenal are on 13. It would be 3 points behind Arsenal. But you could argue that, you know, we're a soft penalty decision against Burnley away from dropping 2 points. We're a stupid goalkeeper away from not getting 3 points against Chelsea. I don't look at this season and say that Bruno Fernandes's penalty decisions are why, you know, penalty misses are why we're not in the top 4. We're not in the top 4 because we're shit. That's why we're not in the top 4. I don't think we're fine margins away from a good season. And this goes back to the weekend, because I was talking with Robbie this morning on his show about the red card that should have been given to Nathan Collins. And at 2-1, even with Bruno missing the penalty, you'd expect us to get a point with 20 minutes to go against Brentford, who would have to sit back. And it would be an undeserved point. So Brentford deserved to beat us comprehensively, regardless of the fact they should have had a man sent off. So I think in football, sometimes you can be in a false position. My question to you is, do you think after 6 games, United are in a false position? Absolutely not. I think if we're 14th, it's where we deserve to be. I've watched every team this season, apart from, funnily enough, Sunderland, which is probably going to be a baptism of fire on Saturday. But I've watched every single team this season, and I do not think we're in a false position. I think we are exactly where we deserve to be. And I think 15th and Europa League losers was exactly what we deserved last year. I don't feel that, and it's a scary thing, because I'm not saying it from, oh yeah, we're getting what we deserve. I'm saying it as a message to the owners. If you think this is a top 4 team, explain to me why after 6 games we are 14th and we deserve to be 14th after 6 games. Like, how do you put this team in the top 4 when we're 14th and we deserve to be there? I don't see the injustice or the fine margins or anything like that. I see a team that went to Brentford in the best possible mood, with the best possible preparation, after the best possible result, and didn't bloody turn up. And that, to me, can be about the manager, of course, but I would love to be in that dressing room a couple of minutes before they walk out for the Brentford game and just say, look, I've been to the future. You play fucking shit. So explain to me what your mindset is walking out there, because I've seen this result. You lose. So why are you going to lose this game? What is it you're missing that the Crystal Palace dressing room's missing? What is it that you're missing that the Sunderland dressing room's missing? What is it you're missing that the Brentford dressing room? I know you're going to fuck this game up before you even walk out there. Tell me what it is in your head that's going to make you play shit. Bruno, why are you going to play shit? Why are you going to play shit? I would love to know in their heads what it is, because they might go, is this off the record? Well, I'm about to tell 15,000 people, but yes, I don't like the manager. I don't like the system. I just can't be arsed. I don't like the owners. You know, I'd love to know. I'm just not motivated. You know, I don't know what it is, but I'd love to know what it is, because we all know they walked out onto that pitch on Saturday again and didn't perform collectively. And there's a reason for that. There is a reason that we don't scrutinise enough. Why is it 11 players walk out on the pitch and don't perform for Man United consistently? And why is it 11 players for other teams do? If nobody was performing, we'd be really harsh. We'd be like, what? We're moaning for moaning's sake. Why do we moan about our team all the time not performing when everyone else doesn't perform either? There's something that we miss. There's something that we're not discussing. Why is it that dressing room walks out onto that pitch and doesn't perform from minute one? Why do they never get going? And as somebody said in the watch along, nothing happened in that game. That at no point did United go, spark, let's get going. Nobody. I don't want Amorim to be the only one leaving. Sporting staff and the CEO need to go too, says John United. Only then will I be okay with changing the manager. Syndicate says we've not been okay since the day we sacked Jose and gave birth to this xenomorph sensational called player power. Out with the Glazers and 16 players. Pan says, I backed Amorim from the start, but his recent mistakes are huge. Only the Bournemouth manager tempts me, though he may fall too in the theory. Could Pep even fix this? I don't think anyone can fix this. That's my personal opinion, but it doesn't mean I'm right. Daniel says, what if he wins the next three? So the next three games are Sunderland at home, Liverpool away, and Brighton at home. If he wins the next three games, he stays. But honestly, and this is only my opinion, if he won the next three games, he probably gets to Christmas. Maybe even the end of the season, because he can live off those 3 wins. It just extends his stay. I don't think he stays. I personally don't think there's a way back now. But look, I don't think he's going to win the next 3. The United Strand ain't getting a haircut. Let's put it that way. In fact, if United Strand's going round to somebody's house for Christmas, get another room, because your hair's going to be massive. Soham says, Man United players are paid more than the Premier League average to have the mentality to deal with the pressure and the scrutiny. Jamie Lewis says, stop playing Luke Shaw and Maguire, Delo and Bruno. This isn't a new team. I'd rather keep Ruben over the years. We've seen it with different managers, same players, same mistakes. I think Jamie, thanks for your super chat, by the way. I think Jamie makes a very good point as well. I think Amorim probably doesn't understand this. And he should be educated on this. Delo was bought by, I want to say Jose. I don't know whether Delo was bought by Jose, but he's been here a long time. Bruno was bought by Ollie. Maguire was bought by Ollie. Luke Shaw was bought by Van Gaal. They've been here years. All of them are basically in his best 11. Yes, they've sacked multiple managers, but they've been here for years. Nobody trusts them. Bruno Fernandes is a fantastic player. Luke Shaw used to be a fantastic player, and Harry Maguire is a decent player. But they can't be the build, because we're tired of it. We're really tired of it. It's like you know, when you live at home and every Monday night your mum does gammon and chips. And she says, I'm mixing it up this week. And you think, oh, God, what am I going to get when I get home? And you come home, you've got gammon and chips and a bit of pineapple. It's like, we've still got gammon and chips. It's not different. It's not different. And I think that this is something that probably doesn't get spoken about enough. And the manager completely doesn't understand. But we can't get behind a new system, a new formation, a new vision and a project that's using players we've seen part of 4 other projects. We can't get behind that. Why do you think 75% of United fans wanted Bruno to go to Saudi? It wasn't because we think he's a bad player. It was the opportunity to take the money and actually rebuild. It was never about Bruno being a bad player. It was never about Bruno Fernandes being disliked. It was what it symbolised. If you sold Bruno for 90 million, you were basically turning your back on the Delos, the Maguires, and the Shaws and the Brunos to build something new, which we all know we need to do. We know we've got to build something new in that direction, but everything we build is always looking in that direction at what we've already done. And that's the problem. And Amorim doesn't get this. And this is why in that pub conversation I had on Saturday, this is why he's lost the fans, because he's meant to be building something new and he will have the support to do that. But in building something new, he's using everything from the old. And I don't think he understands that the fan base is tired of Luke Shaw, Delo, Harry Maguire, Bruno Fernandes being part of a rebuild. There's nothing wrong with those players, by the way. Harry Maguire could go and play for Everton and have a very good career. Bruno Fernandes could go to Bayern Munich and be brilliant. It's not a rebuild. And I think he's missed the boat on that one, and he's not educated himself on that one. Another manager burned when the blame should be with Glinios, Wilcox and Barada. They failed him not selling players or buying in more players. I think you make a good point, Daniel. Odegaard's pass to Lewis Skelly was killer. We need that sort of quality, and we have that with Bruno, but not in the midfield, says Rajaf. It was an amazing pass. I know what you're talking about. Rohit says, I want a manager who is fearless to throw out people if it's not working. Amorim was betrayed by players and Ineos. Amorim has no one other than Bruno as leader because of his player power. Maybe Project 28 was a EPL points target for Amorim, says One Inch Wonder. Why can Palace play 3-4-2-1 and United can't? Players, Andre. Players ability, players IQ, players togetherness, players work rate. I don't think this Man United team can play any formation. Terry Ten Hag. Eric Ten Hag got sacked playing a 4-3-3. Amorim could get sacked playing a 3-4-3. At the end, Ollie was playing a 5-3-2. I don't think there is a system. Remember, Ollie got sacked, went to Spurs just before he got sacked, played a back five. We've seen every formation. They can't do it. Jar of shit with Nutella branding. That's United now, says Baron. Mark, Amorim could try something new. He won't. I don't think he should, though. Keel. For literally brilliant timing. 15,000 watching this morning. Absolute legends. If you're watching live, get your comments in as always. If you're not watching live, leave your comments. Loads of people interact with them after the show. Keel, you've timed that perfection. Amorim could try something new, but he won't. What did I just say about Ollie? Towards the end, he abandoned his 4-3-3, went into survival mode, started playing a back five, still got sacked. I don't think Amorim should change, because I think he's going to lose his job anyway. Better to lose your job on principle than to change who you really are and lose your job anyway. If he changes who he is, he's still going to get the sack. If he goes to a 4-3-3, he'll still get the sack. Greg says, bored of it all now. Amorim in, Amorim out. Amorim shake it all about. No change will make a difference. Constant changes hinder our ability to improve. Unfortunately, Greg, I haven't changed my opinion. I'm very much of the opinion that nothing will change at Manchester United, regardless of changing a manager. Syndicate says relegation is what we need to get rid of the owners and 16 players. These players are not Juve players like Buffon, Del Piero, who play for the fans. Thank you very much for that as well. Okay, let me just come back in here to the live chat. I suppose, I mean, look, somebody did say it a while ago, what do you think happens next? He's definitely going to be here for the Sunderland game. I don't see a sacking like, I mean, look at what West Ham did with Harry Potter. Graham Potter. I mean, they let him do the press conference on Friday and then sacked him on Saturday morning when they've got a game on Monday. So we're not going to do something like that. And, you know, we're certainly not about to make big calls like that. I don't think United are going to do that. I think the international break will be where it really heats up. What I think will happen is, regardless of the result on Saturday against Sunderland, I think the international break is going to heat up. I think so many, obviously I speak to a lot of people. I speak to people on the United stand. I speak to you. Obviously I speak to the presenters on the United stand, Ricky, etc. I know on Saturday there was a big shift. And this will be music to the ears of the people who were Amorim out, but there was a huge shift on Saturday. There was a huge shift from me. I didn't say Amorim out, but I said, look, this is not working. Trust me, if this fan base was behind Amorim, there was a very, very big reaction that was easy. It was an open goal reaction. The VAR and the PGMOL basically were corrupt on Saturday in the sense that they changed the rules that were written. We could have got a result out of that game if they'd followed the rules and we played against 10 men for the last 20 minutes. They messed up. They completely changed their own rules. So if we were all behind Amorim, we'd all be talking about that. You know what I heard? PGMOL are absolutely rubbish at their job. It's a disgrace they got that wrong, but I ain't using that as an excuse because Brentford should have won 5-1. That was the takeaway from the weekend. We got absolutely done over. Even Alan Shearer said it on Match of the Day. Everybody said it, but nobody used it as an excuse because we were shite. And that was the big, big change that I saw at the weekend that really massively damages Amorim's future, is that I feel that people basically got to the point where they realised this ship is not turning around. And I always say, when fans make their mind up, it's very difficult to change your mind. I mean, I want Amorim to turn this around. I want the miracle, but I'm not expecting it. Whereas I think before Brentford, I was expecting it. I wouldn't say I would bet my mortgage on it, but I still believed in the turnaround. I think the best statement I would say is, before the Brentford game, I believed it could turn around. I now do not think it can be turned around. I don't. I can't tell you how long it's going to take for it to end, but I feel it will, and I think a lot of people feel like that now. So, and also, I don't think football fans like changing their mind. I mean, I might be wrong on this, but I don't think we like changing our mind. I think if we decide a new signing's a flop, we don't tend to think, I'll change my mind next week if he scores. I think if a manager is, if you think a manager's going to lose his job, you don't want to next week be going, oh, I'm going to change in my mind. We're simple creatures. We want to believe in something, and then when we don't believe in it, we make our mind up, and then we don't believe it anymore. And I think something changed for Amorim at the weekend that he's going to find it very hard to come back for. I don't think there is a way back. And that's the same with the media, and that's certainly the same with the ex-players as well. Eddie Mack says, what's the end game? How many more managers? Well, I mean, that's a separate conversation. I don't see a way back for Amorim, but I don't see a way forward for another manager. Matteo says, is the only way back for him to play Lamens, Heaven, Delit, Mazraoui, Dorgu, Mainu, Agate, Ahmad, Sesko, Cunha and Burmo? A fresh start with Amorim. That's what he should have done, mate. He had an opportunity to do that in the summer and he refused to do it. He had an opportunity to go down that road in the summer, build something new, and he chose to stick with the past. So many of you said when he didn't sell Bruno to Saudi, that could be the decision that destroys him. And you know what? I don't think you're wrong. He had an opportunity to symbolically say, we're going in a new direction, and he stuck with the past. And the hilarious thing is, the players, I'll never understand this, because Ten Hag did it as well. I'll never understand a manager that stakes his future on players he didn't buy. He didn't buy Bruno. He didn't buy Dalot. He didn't buy Maguire. He didn't buy Shaw. And he stakes his future on them. And Ten Hag did the same. And I'm like, you didn't buy these players. How can you come into a football club saying we need a rebuild and we need to build something new, and then you stake your future on a core of players that you didn't buy? I'll never understand that. I remember saying the same thing about Ten Hag. How can you come in as a new manager with a new vision and then use the core of players that sacked the previous manager that you didn't buy? I mean, does that come from the top? You have to use these players. I just don't know. It can't do, because he was allowed to remove Rashford, wasn't he? He was allowed to remove Garnacho. Amorim playing strictly by seniority to prove a point to the board. It's also keeping his job safe, barring relegation, says Nicky. Based on the trajectory, how long before we end up like Leeds in the mid-2000s, says Woozy? I don't think bankruptcy will be a problem for Manchester United, because we haven't. What Leeds did is they massively spent way above their means to get back in the Champions League, and they missed out, and it killed them. Man United haven't spent massively beyond their means, so I think we'll be okay. Best United performance of the last 5 years, Mark. For me, the 2 legs against Barcelona are up there. What did we do well? What were the ingredients? I agree with you, Big Z, but I can't remember what the ingredients were. I'd say we just turned up. We're basically trying to build a new boat with rotten wood from the old wreck, says Mike. Bruno will go in January regardless of Amorim's future, says FDC. Ineos have always been fixed spots for positions. If we want CDM, we have to sell Bruno or Mainu. Ineos and Ruben both didn't know the midfield plan. That's from Anant. Pan says, if we play 4-3-3, we don't have an out left winger. Ben says, why half the outlets leading with Amorim backed, another half with Amorim getting sacked? Is it because board not sure or leaks? I've not seen anybody saying he's going to get sacked. What I think you're getting, mate, is what the media is, inconsistent and led by sensationalism. I do not think he's getting sacked at the moment. I think the story from Simon Stone yesterday was the story that basically steadied the ship in that sense. Ineos has made 9 signings and cleared failures apart from few. Most of the starting 11 is Ineos, so really to know who we're talking about, says Anant. No one realised that Bruno is coaching during the game all the time and he's not even playing well. He's a big issue, says Minnie. Think about our last 3 captains. It almost doesn't mean anything anymore. It's a reflection of where the club is, says Baz. And Luciano says, people want formation change, but we don't have wingers except for Mbermo and Ahmad. What would we do and what are we going to do in the AFCON? Good point. Good point. JB says, why Amorim don't play our youth like Barcelona? We have so many youth that can replace Bruno, Shaw, Maguire, says JB. I mean, look, you make a good point about Barcelona using the youth. My personal feeling is it's very unfair to throw the youth into this situation because I always use Paddy McNair as an example. Like, he was a good young player. Van Gaal threw him in, then, basically didn't have a good game, subbed him off after half an hour, and that was the end of him. I think Barcelona play in a very different league to the Premier League as well. Like, you can expect to win half of your league games quite comfortably, regardless of whoever you play. In the Premier League, there's nowhere to hide. So I don't think young players are the solution for Manchester United. Having said that, Lenny Oro's young. Dorgu is young. Mainu is young. Those sort of players I would give a chance because they have a level of experience as well. We're still looking for a quick fix, says Keel. He'd go for an interim first. I think it's time Bruno was taken off penalties. I mean, look, John, absolutely. For me, it's probably not a massive topic, but in another way, if we get a penalty on Saturday, it's a huge topic. His penalty against Fulham was abysmal, and his penalty against Brentford was abysmal. We should be off penalties now. You're absolutely correct. Like, those penalties should be being scored. They were shit, so he should be off them, especially when you've got someone like Mbermo who can take them. Cunha can take them. He shouldn't be on penalties. But the scary thing is, can Amorim take Bruno off penalties? Does he have the authority? Yes. But how would Bruno react to that? Has Bruno got too much power in that club? I don't know. I don't know why all the managers at United end up losing their jobs due to favourite players. Is it due to lack of options or politics? I think we just talked about that, Arch. I don't know why new managers come in and use old players. I thought our season started after 10 games, says Rios, Flip-Flop FC. You didn't watch the show last night, did you, mate? I don't set my opinion in stone. I don't think any human being does. I think huge factors can change things. I did say, I think the season starts on game week 10, but I didn't expect on the road to game week 10, we would get stuffed by Brentford. I thought we might lose to Liverpool, Chelsea, Man City and Arsenal. And my theory was, by the time we get to game week 10, we haven't got to play those sort of teams again, and we should be up to speed. I think when you get stuffed by Brentford, you can shove your game week 10 up your arse because that wasn't part of the plan. The biggest problem with Amorim is there's no account, and I'm talking to myself there. I'm talking to myself saying a couple of weeks ago, let's give it 10 games and see where we are. I think he still will be here on game week 10. So in a way, that's still going to ring true. But you can't play like that against Brentford. You can't lose 3 games out of 6. You can't have a win percentage of under 30%. You can't be being stuffed by Brentford and go, I need more time. Like, it's just not going to happen. At some point, there has to be a kick-in of standards at the football club. And as I said, I think people who were screaming Amorim out after Man City, it's a little bit mistimed because it's Man City or it's Arsenal. But after Brentford, you can't defend it. Everyone's got a right to say now it's enough is enough. I'm just sort of like, well, what's next? I don't believe next solved the problem. Chikorito says the biggest problem with Amorim is there's no accountability when senior players play badly and they will never be dropped. His downfall has always been team selection and favouritism to certain players, with first major mistake in the Europa League final. I mean, look, people talk Bruno. Another player that, in some ways is bigger favouritism than Bruno is Luke Shaw. He actually hasn't had a good game this season. He's played every single game. Yoro started the season well, doesn't start anymore. Luke Shaw still starts. Like, Luke Shaw has cost us a few goals this season and plays every bloody game. I mean, that's favouritism in a bow. I'm not taking the blame away from the owners or players, but when Amorim keeps Mainu on the bench to play Agate, who can't plast, Bruno is indisciplined, and Binder, Man City and Brentford is on him, says Jimmy. There's still 4 players who were here when Ralph Rangnick called for our captain. He's one of them. Guess the other 3. It's not the manager. You can't bandage cancer, says Connect. When are we going to call out Director of Football and CEO? They're the reason we're in this chaos, says AKS. Well, I think they should be called out. I think they have been called out, and I think they should be called out. Harry Maguire penalties when he top bins the camera, says Big Z. Rome influence, thanks for your super chat. Do you think Amorim lied to get the job, says Keel? I think Ineos lied to Amorim. No, I don't think Amorim took the job knowing he wasn't going to get 500 million. Sorry, 6 players in the summer. As long as we have each other in this community, we support our club as long as we live, says Roblin. Exactly. Dan says, how did we play so good against Arsenal in the beginning of the season and now play so terribly? Oh, that's really easy to answer, Dan, because we're Manchester United and we can play well against anyone and we can play shit against anyone. We've known that for ages. Morning, Mark and chat. Remember, if Amorim does go, some of his appointments may stay. Whoever comes in will bring their own coaches. He might stay like Bruno. We will have to wait and see, says Tom. D16 says Amorim has done us again. Saudi aren't mugs. They won't give us that 90 million now. How they didn't sell him is beyond me. Probably booze at Old Trafford next week because I expect Sunderland will get a result. Always a sign the end is near. That's from McElvis. Why do you think he sticks with past players? Have certain players got too much power? Is there an order from above? I just don't understand it, says Jack. And he would earn more time by playing to their collective strengths. Good managers do that. He's showing their weaknesses and it doesn't help them or him. Look, there is a case with Amorim. Many sporting fans would say it didn't start well there and then it got gradually better and better and better. That will be the get out for him, the players and the owners. And I think that's where they are at the moment. If you can't understand why he's still the manager of Man United, I think that's the line they're sticking to. He didn't start off well at Sporting. A lot of change had to happen and it gradually got better and better and better. And if that happens, they're going to look very, very insightful. I just don't think you can compare Sporting to Manchester United because we watch the games. There's going to be another Brentford and I don't think you can afford another Brentford. Thanks everyone for watching. Fantastic show this morning. We're back live at 2 o'clock. Obviously got the evening show as well. I don't think we're going to be reacting to a sacking this week. I really, really don't. Maybe next week. I don't know. See what happens on Saturday. But I'd certainly start thinking about it. I know the club will be as well. Rome Influencer says, I emailed you about a great sponsorship opportunity. Can you look at it and get back to me? Great content as always. Okay, I'll take a look at that, pal. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone. Stay safe, and I'll speak to you all in a bit. Take care.